Good evening. It's 6 p.m. here in the nation's capital. My name's Garland Nixon. The name of the show is News Views on every Friday from 6 to 7 p.m. I think we got Eric Ramey. Eric Ramey, are you on the line? My main man, Eric Ramey's got a quick announcement to make. What's happening, Eric?
Garland, how are you? Always a privilege, always a pleasure.
Speaking of privileged people, how's life over there in Foxhall Meadows on the wealthy side of town, my brother?
Got an eviction notice this morning.
Oh, they're kicking you out. They're kicking you out of one of your mansions. Well, just move to your summer home on the Eastern Shore, or then you could always go to the one out in Pacific Palisades. But at any rate,
I put those up on the market. But with this just in, bulletin, our first annual Walk to Your Feet Get Dusty event, originally scheduled for tomorrow morning at 8 a.m. Due to safety concerns and possibly inclement weather, has been rescheduled. It's postponed until October 8th, which is next Saturday, and it will be at noon p.m. as opposed to 8 a.m., which works a lot better for me. I wasn't trying to get up anyway.
Yeah, much less to run out in some torrential rainstorm or bad weather.
Yeah, and we still want all our members out there as much, come on out. We want everyone out, especially the county government employees, all the people at all the other FM stations. We want all the PG, all the Fairfax, Arlington, Prince William, especially all our PG people out there. You want all the sorority people out there, AKAs, Deltas. We love Deltas. All the Qs, all the Omega Psi Phis, all the Metro people, and our people in uniform. We want everyone from Fort McNair, Fort Meade, Fort Belvoir.
And what's it called again?
The Walk to Your Feet Get Dusty.
All right. Thank you very much. And when is it going to be?
It's going to be at noontime, October 8th. And let me just mention, if you're 18 and under, it's free. There's a general registration fee of $40. Okay. If you're a few dollars short, come on out. We're glad to have you. And definitely all our freshmen at the area universities there: George Mason, George Washington, UDC, Georgetown, Howard.
Anything with George, right?
Yeah.
There we go. All right, thanks a lot.
Take care now.
All right, that's Eric Ramey, one of our favorite listeners. So my name's Garland Nixon. Also, I'm on Facebook Live. I'm looking at Facebook Live. It says, we're still spreading the word that you're live. This may take a minute. So that's on Real Progressives. All right. So what do we have to talk about this week? Well, very recently we had a presidential debate. And we have a vice presidential debate coming up. So let's start with the presidential debate. I watched it. I thought it was interesting, and I got to get some feedback from you because I watched it and I thought some things about it, but I got to find out from you. I'm sure Homeless Ike is. I haven't heard from Homeless Ike. I hope Homeless Ike's all right. Homeless Ike's got to call in and tell us about the presidential debate. But let's talk about it. I watched it and a couple things went on, so let me give you a couple of perspectives, a couple of thoughts. And one is the immediate actions that were going on, right? Who got in a shot? Who got in who got in a quip? Who got a punch in and who took a blow? Here are my thoughts first of all on presidential debates. In 2004, I don't think you could do worse than George Bush did against John Kerry. He was horrible. If you remember, everything was, when he got confused, he kept saying, it's hard work being president. That was pretty much his only answer. Gee, how are you going to fix things? It's hard. It's hard. Well, what about that? It's hard. That's all George Bush pretty much went on for an hour and a half telling us how hard it was to be president, as evidenced by how horrible a job he did. So we already knew it was hard, and we knew he wasn't up to the task. That being said, John Kerry went on to lose the election. Now, one could argue that there were shenanigans and that it was close. But here's what I keep saying. You can't have it close enough that they can steal it. You got to put them down. You got to put them away. John Kerry kept it close, and he ended up with 4 more years of George W. Bush. So realistically, the debates, the pundits love them. The people who feel that their candidate won, which is every single voter, likes them. Here's the reality. The Trump people were like, yeah, obviously Trump won. The Hillary people were like, which are, pretty much like all of the mainstream media. As far as I'm concerned, let's be honest, they could have announced Hillary's victory on CNN or MSNBC the day before, because you already knew they were going to say she won. I'm not saying she didn't. I'm simply saying it was a foregone conclusion that the mainstream media was going to announce that. I mean, New York Times, really? You really think you were going to turn in the New York Times? Look at the New York Times the next morning, it was going to say, well, Hillary didn't do so good. That wasn't happening. So all of the media entities that already had pretty much endorsed Hillary said that she won. And let's face it, Trump's horrible. He's a horrible, horrible, horrible. Trump is a horrible individual overall. That being said, I think there were some things I looked at it. And number one, what are the overarching issues? What are the overarching things? What are the broad issues that are driving the electorate, right? And here's what I think. One of the broad issues that's driving the overall electorate is a disdain for the status quo, is a disdain for the establishment on both sides of the aisle, right? And so the establishment media that's saying that Hillary Clinton won, and which is, the same establishment media that just like all day long says Trump is terrible, which I'm going to say this again, I agree is horrible. I'm not trying to say it's not horrible. This media is not well liked by the electorate. It's not trusted by the electorate, and it really does no good for the status quo media to say, "Oh, Trump's horrible." When let's face it, that's self-evident. But the fact of the matter is, people don't like the establishment. It is an anti-establishment. It is an anti-status quo election cycle. And again, I'm going to say this again. That's why I think the most anti-establishment candidate, who is a horrible fiend, I might add, is probably going to win. And I've been saying that for 8 months. I'm not happy about it, but that's what I think. I'm not going to tell you something that's not my opinion. Certainly they weren't going to have, Gary Johnson. Why put him on stage? He doesn't know anything. This guy doesn't know any. People are like, Aleppo. He's like, Aleppo? What is that? Like a new kind of coffee maker or something like that? An espresso? Oh, espresso. Yeah, I love that stuff. It's got a little bit of a bite. No. He's lost. The other day, he couldn't name a single leader anywhere in the world that he liked. They're like, oh, name one. He's like, well, I can't think of anybody. Just name one. How about just name a leader anywhere in the world? Next I thought they were going to ask him who was the president of the United States, and he wasn't going to be able to answer that. Gary Johnson is a joke. Jill Stein, think the world of her. I agree with her policies. Agree with her policies. Love Jill Stein. Let's face it, there's no possibility in this universe that she's going to win. And I'm not telling people not to vote for her. Garland Nixon believes this. You vote for whoever you want to vote for, and I'm not going to denigrate or vilify you for voting for the candidate that you agree with. It's your vote. It's your decision. So that's to say, sure, Jill Stein's not going to win. She'll never become president. But if you want to vote for her, I'm not saying you're wrong. I mean, I'm looking at the choices that we have, and some people just want to cast a protest vote. And some people look at the choices that we have between Hillary and Trump, and they feel so bad about those choices that they say, well, I feel like I want to vote. I feel like I can't vote for either one of those, so I'm just going to at least say I voted for somebody. I understand that, and I'm not telling anybody you're wrong for doing that. Vote for who you want to vote for and feel good about it, and don't let anybody put you down for voting for your choice. Because let's face it, all the people who have been telling us we need to vote for this person or that person for the last 30 years, how's that worked out? So the people that are telling you shouldn't vote for whoever you want to vote for haven't been doing such a fine job of choosing the candidate. Vote for who you choose. So let's get back to the debate. Here's something I thought, and that was that Trump kind of drove home one particular point fairly consistently, and that was about trade deals. He talked about NAFTA a lot. He talked about jobs going overseas. And I all along have felt like that was Trump's most powerful argument. That was the one that kind of hits home. Why? And here's why. Because voters consistently vote on domestic policy, particularly economic policy. All this business about Russia and Putin is getting you nowhere. People aren't voting on Russia and Putin when they can't pay their bills. Additionally, there are a lot of people who are so angry at the status quo. They look at the trade deals, and even now they look at the TPP hanging out there in the wind, and they're angry at the status quo, the establishment of both wings of the party for still trying to push more trade deals on us. And Trump did hit home when he said most people believe that. No, he didn't say most people. He said that the fact is you're opposing the TPP now, and I'm paraphrasing. You're opposing the TPP now, but when it comes down to it, if you get elected, that you're going to support it. And I think everybody, let's be honest, far be it from me to agree with Donald Trump on anything, but give the devil his due. Everybody knows that already. My gosh, Ingrid Harder is now, this is on Facebook Live, Ingrid Harder just posted, following you from Germany. I feel important. Feel very, very important. So at any rate, thank you, Ingrid Harder. Certainly appreciate you following me from Journey. We're on Facebook Live. Go to the Real Progressives webpage. Join the Real Progressives. We got like 83,000 followers. I'm one of the editors. Join Real Progressives is the webpage. And if you look, it's like the Real Progressives has like a little fist with a star around it. Make sure you get the right one. And you can follow me live and can watch the show live video. Hello, I'm waving to the people there. Hello, everybody. Real Progressives. All right. Let's get back to this and then I'm going to open up the phones. I still feel like Hillary's in a world of hurt. And a big part of it is because her people have no clue how, a big part of it is because she's Hillary Clinton. But the other part of it is that her people have no clue how to address their issues, that the only thing they're saying is Trump is bad, Trump is bad, Trump is bad, and that's not going to get you elected. You will never see an advertisement for a Coca-Cola advertisement where you don't see Coca-Cola in the advertisement. You're not going to see a Coca-Cola advertisement that says Pepsi's bad. It has too much sugar. You don't want Pepsi. Ew, look at the logo on that can. You know that Pepsi is terrible. Pepsi stinks. This advertisement is brought to you by Coca-Cola. You're never going to see that. Why? Because they're not going to talk all of the time about the other person. I watched the other day. I'm watching an advertisement, and it was some super PAC or something, and it said, "We've got to stop Trump. We've got to dump Trump. Trump's terrible. Blah blah blah." And it makes me feel like this, that it's so difficult. It's getting so difficult to make an affirmative case for Hillary Clinton that basically she's almost becoming the candidate who's not Donald Trump. It's almost like you turn on an advertisement and they're like, yes, Trump is terrible. Vote for the candidate who's not Donald Trump. The other person. Well, who's that? Just the one who's not Donald Trump. Name rhymes with Schmillery Blinton. Just if you see a name that rhymes with Schmillery Blinton, you want to vote for that. But whatever you do, we got to stop Donald Trump. And that's just not a good strategy. That's not a winning strategy. And part of it is because they never had an economic message. They never had a message. People don't believe the message that they had. And then you got Hillary's record, which doesn't help. And then you've got a lot of people who support Hillary who are kind of tone deaf. They can't understand that there's a lot of people that don't appreciate Hillary's vulnerability, shall we say, and they actually get angry at you when you say, well, I'm not that thrilled with Hillary. How dare you hate America and you're gonna get Trump in. That ain't gonna win for you. Now, so let me say this. So being on the National Board of Directors for the American Civil Liberties Union, right? And, so many of the rights that we have are as a result of the ACLU. Esposito versus Florida and, was it Esposito? What's the guy? I'm trying to think. The case where you got your right to an attorney. Florida versus, sounds like Esposito. Anyway, it's close. Esposito. Somebody will call. One of my brilliant people will call in and tell me I'm having a brain cramp. But at any rate, I could go on and on and on. So many of your cases, your rights come from the American Civil Liberties Union, prayer in school, things of that nature. And it's very important to the ACLU to ensure that we can guarantee the rights, that we can help guarantee the rights and help protect the rights of Americans. So clearly, the Supreme Court is a major issue, being a member of the Board of Directors for the Board of Governors for the ACLU. So that's a major concern of mine. As unthrilled as I am with Hillary, that's that's a major concern of mine. So there are those of us who have major concerns. But if you're going to try to convince me to vote for Hillary, or try to convince somebody to vote for Hillary, just telling them to stop Trump or calling him a jerk because they won't, ain't going to get it done. And here's the bottom line. There are a lot of people who just are never going to go that way. And I think that my thought is this. I got a lot of hassle from a lot of people before the convention about not supporting Hillary, blah, blah, blah. And my position, along with a lot of other progressives, there's somebody else, Miranda. That was Miranda versus Arizona. My position before the convention was clear, and it was, look, I don't want Donald Trump to be president, and I don't think you should run Hillary because I don't think she can beat Donald Trump. What do we have? Gideon versus Escobedo. I'm thinking of Escobedo versus Illinois. Yes, Escobedo versus Illinois. Gideon versus Wainwright. Okay, I've got the guy's helping me out here, and he happens to be a lawyer, so that helps. But at any rate, so the long and short of it is, oh my gosh, hello from Sarasota, Tampa, Leesburg, Virginia. Well, we got Leesburg. My goodness. So I think that the Democratic Party is in a world of trouble. Got some other cases. I got all these cases popping up. My gosh, Griswold versus Connecticut, Miranda versus Arizona. These are all ACLU cases. A lot of your rights came from it. So let's not forget the ACLU out there. But at any rate, so what I'm getting at is this. I saw Trump really zeroing in on the jobs issue, zeroing in on NAFTA, zeroing in on some things that I think are very serious weaknesses for the Democratic Party. I was like live tweeting and live Facebooking on that. And when he started going after NAFTA, and I said, there it is, right there. The right wing of the Democratic Party, a guy named Bill Clinton, going against labor to sign NAFTA, going against the progressives to sign NAFTA. It's coming back to haunt them. You have the Republican nominee ripping the Democratic nominee to shreds from the left. The Republican nominee saying, you gave the working class the shaft. And the only thing the Democratic nominee can say is vote for me because I'm a woman. Oh, by the way, and he's a jerk. So the chickens are coming home to roost for the Democratic Party, supporting right-wing policies now. And now you've got this kooky guy who's all over the place, who's going to attack you from the left, the right, the middle, where he can, and who only knows what Trump's going to do. But the conservative wing of the Democratic Party going along, acting, being Republican light and Republican heavy in some instances, is coming back to haunt the Democratic Party, and the Democratic Party now is, suffering at the hands of a Donald Trump, looking like there's going to be defeat, and I really think they are. And the other part of it is, again, the conservative movement of the Democratic Party turning into a wholly corporate-owned party, where corporations determined who the nominee was going to be this time, against the will of the voters. Many of us believe, but corporations determine it. And the fact of the matter is, regardless of how he governed in all ways, Barack Obama ran to the left. He ran in 2008 to powerful progressive policies. He ran to the left, and he won in a blowout. And the Democratic Party should learn from that. If you run to the left, if you advocate for progressive policies, you will win in a blowout. In 2000, Gore, Lieberman? Really? Can you get any further to the right than Joe Lieberman? Kerry and Edwards? And now Hillary and Kane. This is how the Democratic Party hasn't been this far to the right since the Civil War, when the Democrats were the Confederacy. That's the last time they've been this far to the right. And you know what's going to happen? What always happens when the Democrats run to the far right, they're going to lose. And then, of course, now we're already seeing a lot of anger and people blaming. I've had people say to me, it's attitudes like yours that's going to lose. So that, really? So all I got to do is change my attitude and Hillary's going to win? So that on election night, they're going to be like, well, we were going to go with exit poll numbers, but instead we're going to call Garland Nixon and check his attitude, because that'll decide, hey, Garland, how you feeling? I got a cramp in my back. Oh, there you go. He's got a bad attitude. Hillary's going to lose. Right. I guess Hillary will be at my house in the morning with like toys. Here, we've got a Hot Wheels track, a new basketball. How about this? Some shiny shoe, basketball, a pair of Jordans, a new puppy, and then I'll be in a good mood and they'll win. It's attitudes like mine. People are looking for somebody to blame. It's Bernie's fault. She hasn't even lost yet. I'm not saying I think Trump's going to win. A lot of people are predicting he's going to win, but she hasn't lost yet. So why don't they wait to start looking for scapegoats till after she actually loses? I think there's a lot of fear, and a lot of people recognize finally maybe the flow. Now I'll tell you what it reminds me of. You jump off a cliff, and when you get in midair, you start thinking to yourself, hey, maybe this was a bad idea. Trust me, flapping your arms ain't going to save you. And that's what they're doing now. When we said at the convention, do not nominate Hillary, for goodness sake, it's not just that I don't like Hillary. That ain't it. It's that she's such a flawed candidate and she's so far to the right, she will not get her base to the polls. You cannot win the presidency if you do not get your base to the polls. We knew she wasn't going to get her base to the polls. She ain't going to get her base to the polls. And of all things, she's going to leave us with this ungodly fiend, Donald Trump. And the people who tried to stop this mess are the ones being blamed. Here's the number, 202-588-0893, 202-588-0893. My main man, Bill Witherspoon, is back. Bill Witherspoon's been gone for a couple of weeks. I think he was probably in Monaco, with the, hanging out, maybe with Donald Trump for all I know, gambling, $100,000 a hand at the roulette table, flying around on private jets, because, that's the way Bill Witherspoon lives. That's if you're Bill Witherspoon, that's what you do. You fly around on private jets, probably Bill Clinton and some young honeys. I'm just thinking maybe that's going on. But Bill Witherspoon's in there right now, hanging out with the little people, and he's answering the phones, 202-588-0893. Look, here's bad news, guys. I don't know if you listened to last week's show. We didn't hear from Homeless Ike. Homeless Ike has got to call tonight because he's got to put us paid on the right information. And you out there, you can call us from Germany, 202-588-0893. I don't know what the country code is. So Talia Bass says the corruption of Hillary and the DNC are why she will lose. I think you pretty much hit the nail on the head there. Just a couple weeks ago, and here's the thing. This is not just about Hillary bashing. This is not about bashing Hillary. And let me tell you why. If you rob a bank and I say, you probably won't get elected because you've robbed a bunch of banks, I'm not bashing you. You actually robbed the banks. It's like, how dare you bring up that I robbed the banks? Well, no, actually, I don't want my party to lose the election. I don't think we should run a bank robber, right? So now we are running a candidate who right now, a couple weeks ago, they put her IT guy on the stand in front of Congress. This is the guy who put in her server in her home, and he pled the fifth. He pled the fifth over and over. This is the president. This is a person who went before the FBI and 36 times said when the FBI was questioning her, she couldn't recall. Hillary's mind was blank. She was El Blanco. That was Hillary's mind. She knew zero. She knew nothing. She was like an FBI informant who all of a sudden they kidnapped his family and forgot everything. That was Hillary. She didn't remember anything. And you're running this person, and this person is losing, and you're saying to me, I'm wrong for saying probably not a good idea? This is a person who basically had her underlings play xylophones on her cell phones. She had line her cell phones up. And this is going to sound like a joke. Beat her cell phones up with hammers. Who does that? Other than Tom Brady. But who does that? It's like, okay, you got your cell phone, you're done with it, and what are you going to do? You could donate it. The cell phone, actually, I would think Hillary would recycle. They have precious metals in the cell phone. They got little recycling bins you could, not Hillary. No, she ain't recycling cell phones. She's putting them on the pavement and beating the crap out of them with a Sears hammer. And you're telling me I'm wrong for saying you probably shouldn't run this person. Good chance they'll lose. I don't think people are going to trust them. And I'm wrong for stating the obvious. I guess I gotta, that's one I'll have to accept. Bill Witherspoon, who we got?
Ramey.
Oh, whoa, boy, I feel like I'm in a time loop here. Hey, this is Groundhog Day. My main man, Ramey, are you back?
Yes, quick correction. The 5K walk, it's $35. $35 pre-registration, wpfwfm.org. It'll be $40 the day of the event.
All right. Thank you, wpfw.org. All right, thanks. That's my main man, Eric Ramey down. Probably right now, he's, probably waiting for his cook to serve. It's about that time of day, isn't it? He's probably waiting for his cook to serve his pre-dinner hors d'oeuvres, and somebody's bringing in wine from the orchard, if I know him, down there in Foxhall Meadows. One day, Ramey, I shall live like the rich and famous, like an Eric Ramey. Who's next, Bill?
Ann,
where you calling from, Ann?
Baltimore.
All right, what are your thoughts?
So I'm wondering why there isn't a significant movement to support another party. There are people out there who don't like the Republican Party. They don't like the choice of the Democratic Party. Why can't we find an effort? Why isn't there a significant effort to expose other parties? And I'm not talking about necessarily the Libertarian Party, but perhaps the Green Party or something else, someone else. People have to know that we have a choice. And so that's kind of my statement.
Okay. Now, let me ask you this. Don't you think that because the media is, what we used to be the media, what we call the media is just, really corporate-owned outreach or centers, that rather than offer a choice or promote other parties, that they're basically going to actually promote the paradigm that there's only two choices, or in many cases only one?
Right. And I just feel like we're being pushed in that direction. They say, well, if you don't vote for Trump or you vote for another party, if you don't vote for Hillary, then that's a vote for Trump. If you vote for another party. And I just feel like if everybody who's complaining about both parties votes for that third party, it changes the dynamic in our political system. And maybe I'm just overly optimistic or whatever, but I think that we can be the change in the system unless there is a movement out there that's actually very corporate, very heavily funded, that will only support a Democrat or a Republican.
Well, and let's not forget, the Congress has a 6% approval rate and 90% reelection rate. It has been said that a nation of sheep begets a government of wolves. This is, appears to be, a representative republic or something like that, or something like that. How about that? I'll just say that. And I think that what you're saying is important because people have to decide to do things different. As long as people keep, eating the same pie, they're going to get the same, they're going to get the same fly in their mouth because there's a fly on this pie, and I don't want to eat this fly.
Right. It's the narrative. As long as they keep listening to the narrative, you shouldn't vote for the third party because that's a vote for Trump. And I just feel like there's a flaw in that statement, and no one's listening. It's all about fear, because there's nothing. Neither of the parties have anything to offer the working class or the working poor or the poor. They have nothing to offer. So now the only thing they can say is vote for us because that person over there is really scary. Exactly. So do something else.
All right. Thank you very much. Thanks. Boy, I got a lot of support in Baltimore. Who do we have next? Tasha. Oh, boy. Tasha, where are you calling from, Tasha?
Prince George's County.
Oh, make sure you turn your radio down. I can hear it in the background.
Gotcha.
All right. What's happening, Tasha?
So I have so much. First of all, I really like your show, and I have so many things I want to say, but I wanted to ask you, why don't you think Jill Stein will have a chance?
I mean, just the numbers. I mean, I'd loved it if she did, but let's be, let's be square with ourselves. Let's be honest about the numbers. She doesn't really have a chance. She doesn't have the money. She doesn't have the exposure. She's going to be beaten down by the corporate media. The reality is, CNN, MSNBC, all of the above are going to say, oh, she's just a kooky person. And so the corporate-owned media is going to ensure it, and she won't get, a couple percent at the most. I mean, I'm just being honest. It's not that I don't want something else to happen, and I don't tell people don't vote for anybody you want. But the reality of it, she doesn't have a chance, a snowball's chance in a,
right.
where.
But she's, and I listen to Democracy Now! Every morning, and I heard her side of the debate. She was able to debate, give her view on the debate, and it was really good. Her policies that she was talking about was really good, and she's with the people, like she's down down with people, like she's out there, like in South Florida, she was there with those folks. I mean, and I know that corporate media is not going to cover her, but I just think that she would be a great third choice. So I just wanted to put her name out there. And can I also just say that the TPP thing? I know that we're talking about outsourcing, the corporations outsourcing to other countries. But also another thing to consider is that if they don't outsource to another country, then they're using the United States of America prisoners.
Yeah, I'm with you there. That's a lot. Oh, Talia Bass says, do you think she would have had a better chance had Dr. Cornel West been her running mate? And not really. Because the bottom line is the corporate media ain't giving anyone a chance except the major two parties. Because that's who owns I got it backwards. I was going to say the parties own the corporate media. The media is an extension of the corporations. And now our government is an extension of the corporations. Our government is not run by the corporations any more than your arm is run by your body. It's part of your body. And that's what the media, the corporations, and our government has become one. The original the origin of the term fascism was Italian, and the Italian version of fascism was a little different than the initially was a bit different than, say, the German version of fascism, where it was mainly predicated upon corporation and government kind of acting in unison. That was the origin, and that version of fascism, I'm not going to say is coming to America. See, I don't want to use the word fascism loosely and throw. A lot of people fascism. Well, if you use it really useful too loosely, then you don't really know what it is. Right. But that being said, there are different versions of fascism, just like there are different types of democracies and different types of republics, So fascism, the origin of fascism from Italy, which was a corporate fascism, more so than a militaristic, more so than a nationalistic and ethnocentric fascism. It was a corporate fascism. That's what we have here. Let's see what we got next. Bill Witherspoon.
Trevor,
where are you calling from, Trevor?
Bowie, Maryland.
All right. What's happening? What are your thoughts?
Well, man, I feel that we are boxed in to make a choice between the two. I'm not really crazy about Hillary. I've really been voting a Democrat all my life, and never more than now do I feel more about going to being an independent. It's just, I've always felt no matter who gets in the White House, they're always answering to somebody, scratching somebody's back for something, and you're never going to get 100% of whatever they've been campaigning on. So it's almost like picking the best out of the worst. And yes, all the trade deals that Trump hit on, Benghazi, all those things about Hillary, I'm not crazy about, really hit me. But then when I look at Trump, I look at that as that is a joke. I'm afraid, this whole temperament thing. I'm scared that he's got an itchy trigger finger and wants to push that button. And I'm just scared about the future. So it is a fear thing, and I wish that more exposure would be given to people like Jill Stein, so that we did have another option. But it's just like picking the best out of the worst. What else really is there to do? I don't know of any other strategy, because if I'm not voting for the best chance to make sure that he doesn't get into the White House, then I might as well be the one to usher him in myself and be there at his inauguration. Yeah,
that being said, let me ask you a question. When you have a candidate whose only affirmative argument is that guy over there is terrible, do you think that candidate can win?
No, and they shouldn't. Right. But the thing is,
I'm not saying, and keep in mind, I'm not saying that Hillary should win. Look, I don't want Trump in the White House. And that's why from the very beginning I said they shouldn't nominate Hillary, because if you nominate Hillary, my opinion was it's too late. You nominate her, you've just handed it to Trump, because she couldn't beat anyone.
Yeah. I was actually a Bernie man. But the thing is, even though she's saying that guy over there, the thing is, she doesn't really need to say anything because he's doing it all for himself, the reasons why he shouldn't.
Yeah.
I wish that she did have something more as a foundation that gave us other options and her policies and everything.
Yeah, but then she wouldn't be Hillary. She'd be Bernie. You know what I mean? That's like throwing a rock in the water and say, I wish it floated. Well, it wouldn't be a rock then. It would be a balloon.
You're right, man. I love your show, man. Thanks a lot. First time calling.
All right. Thanks a lot. All right. Who do we got next, Bill?
Jeff,
202-588-0893. I think we got some open lines. Jeff, where you calling from?
I'm calling from D.C.
All right. What are your thoughts, Jeff?
Okay, I got a lot
I'm
of
depressed. I need some help, Jeff. I'm depressed. I need some. Donald Trump's going to be president. Me and Bill Witherspoon, we don't know what to do. Help us out.
Well, that ain't going to happen. Listen, I'm going to cheer you up, but I got to tell you, man, we only got 3 to 4 weeks left before the election, and I know this is your show, and they're going to tell you how to run your show, but I know that when you do your opening dialogue, then you're going to open the mics up. We ain't got but an hour, so I'd like to hear as many people in the next 3 weeks. So that said, this is what I think. I don't think that harping on the fact that Hillary points out Donald Trump's flaws is a bad thing, because somebody needs to point it out continuously. Just like he continuously spews lies. Eventually, as long as they know what they've been doing for the last 8 years, if they keep saying the same old thing, eventually people believe it. That said, I think also what you mentioned about the best of the worst, it holds a lot of water. But when I look at the choices that we have, and I'm going to tell you, I'm not even looking at it in the literal sense of the word, because I know we have not much choice. But I was listening to the pundits and the correspondents and the news analysts talk about, well, they asked the guy Gary about world leaders. He couldn't name any at all. I saw that video clip. Jill Stein, I heard just recently, was asked the same question. And not to denigrate her at all, understand, though, that she only mentioned nominally famous world leaders. That said, I think that Hillary has a great chance. And the reason I say this is because when people start to really look at the choices that we have, it's a no-brainer. I mean, and to say, hey...
Yeah, I would agree. Neither one of them have a brain.
Yeah, but
you're right. I call this election a no-brainer. 2 people with no brain.
But here's the thing. To say that she comes... I hear so many people say her main things that she comes off as being so dishonest. Well, name me...
Uh-oh, we just lost him. Well, look,
doesn't come off as...
Okay, we lost him.
I'm saying...
Yeah, sorry, I hate to cut you off, but you were going in and out, and, we've got people waiting, so we really can't have you on. But you made a lot of good points. But I think right now, defending Hillary Clinton's honesty and trustworthiness, it's a little late for that. You might want to try a different angle there. In fact, you might want to stay away from words like trustworthy and honesty and stuff. And here's the other thing. Okay, bashing Trump. Hillary and company, the Democratic Party, and all of the major news outlets have been bashing Trump for months. I mean, mercilessly. And Hillary's numbers have been on a downward spiral, right? They're doing something that ain't working. So if it ain't working, why keep doing it? The first rule of holes, right? When you find yourself in one, stop digging. So people are saying, you've got to bash Trump. And it's almost, you know what it reminds me of? It reminds me of a person who yells at people and the person doesn't give them what they want. So they say, well, I must be not yelling loud enough. So they yell louder. And then the person really doesn't do what they want. And they say, well, darn, I better yell louder. Because they only know how to do one thing, and that's yell. And when they don't get their way, they just yell louder and louder and louder, and they don't realize yelling ain't the answer. So here's what I got to say. To me, it's like the Democratic Party at Alia, the Democratic Party and all of their people who they work with only know how to bash Trump. And they don't have anything else, and it ain't working. They're bashing Trump, and his numbers are going down, and Trump's are going up. If I had to look at that and say, what does empirical evidence tell me? If I do an association and causation evaluation, I'd say bashing Trump seems to be putting his numbers up. I mean, there's what's going on? They're bashing Trump. What's happening? Hillary's losing more and more and more. You could make an argument that bashing Trump is helping them. I could make an argument, and here's why. CNN, MSNBC, New York Times, Washington Post, they bash Trump is terrible, Trump is terrible, Trump is terrible, right? And here's all they remind people. It ain't Trump they hate, it's you. CNN, New York Times, MSNBC, you are the ones who cheerleaded for the Iraq War. You are the ones who cheerleaded for tax cuts for the rich, which is yourselves. You're the ones who cheerleaded for all of these trade deals, etc. So these same outlets that cheerleaded for the neoliberal policies that destroyed the working class worldwide are now saying Trump is terrible, and you wonder why people can't hear you? Because they don't like you, the source. What you are speaks louder than what you say. Look at what happened in England. The same neoliberal entities in England all screamed against Brexit. And what did the working class do? They voted for Brexit. They said, well, one thing, if you billionaires and millionaires don't like it, we don't like you, we're voting in favor of it. So now the people, the thing about it is this, these groups don't realize that they just can't see the Post, the Times, the CNN, MSNBC. They can't see, they can't possibly grasp that the working class is on to them, that the working class is hip to them. They can't grasp that the working class now knows the truth, that there is no media in America other than Pacific and WPFW. There is no media in America, that there are corporations who have corporate outreach centers and they masquerade as media. So now when Comcast says Trump is terrible in the guise of MSNBC, when Time Warner says Trump is terrible in the guise of CNN, the fact of the matter is the curtain is up. Everybody knows that behind the curtain of CNN and MSNBC is Time Warner and Comcast. And they don't like you. They don't appreciate you. They can't stand you. And when you say don't vote for Trump, there's a certain percentage of people that are going to say, oh, you don't want me to vote for Trump? Well, then I'll vote for him. That's what they don't understand. That's the dynamic they don't get. So you turn on CNN all day long. You know what? Donald Trump said something very honest. He said to Hillary, I'm tying you, and I'm now tied with you or beating you, and you're spending all this money and I ain't spending none. You know who's spending the money for Donald Trump? CNN and MSNBC. All day long. I was at Busboys and Poets, CNN was on, and all I saw was Trump, Trump, Trump. And I said, Trump need not buy a yard sign or a bumper sticker. Why? Because CNN and MSNBC are showing Trump all day. They don't even show Hillary. They show Trump all the time. I saw a Hillary advertisement. She wasn't in it. They showed Trump. And I'm thinking to myself, I know a little bit about the media. You people are idiots. You're showing a Hillary advertisement and Hillary ain't in it. It's Trump's doing this. Look at Trump saying something. Trump is talking. Trump is acting, right? And all we see is Trump. So guess what? You know the way the human brain works? People are going to go to a vote and they're going to, you know what's going to be thinking in their mind? Trump. You know what happens? You know why Coca-Cola puts up signs everywhere that just says Coca-Cola? It doesn't say anything. It doesn't say Coca-Cola's good. It doesn't say Coca-Cola's tasty. It just says Coca-Cola. Everywhere you see shirts, Coca-Cola. Coca-Cola on the side of a truck. Coca-Cola everywhere. Why? Because the way brain priming works is if your brain is primed with a word over and over and over, it's going to drill into your brain. Hillary is saying Trump. Trump, 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 Trump. Here's Hillary's advertisement. Trump, 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 and Trump. That's Hillary's advertisement. Brought to you by a person other than Trump. And you wonder why these people are fools. They're fools. Bill Witherspoon, they're fools. Who do we have next?
Attar.
Attar. Where are you calling from, Attar?
Hello?
Yes. Where are you calling from?
I'm calling from Virginia.
What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I don't know, but if my question is not relevant, I apologize. But if I just want to know, the man that was shot in North Carolina, I heard the police were going in there to serve somebody. Why did they end up? What did he do that the police zeroed it on him? And did they serve the person who they were serving the warrant to later?
Thank you very much. I don't really know, the details on that right now. And, I've done a lot of shows on police shootings. Lord knows I've done a lot of work on the police shootings. And that's something that is near and dear to me. And there'll be a lot of other shows. But I hate to stray too far of it, because if I start talking about police shootings in this particular show, then, number one, I am not going to be able to stop talking about them. And number two, all my callers will drift away. And I try to stay on point. But I certainly appreciate you calling. And trust me, there'll be another show shortly, so soon, within the next couple of weeks, because God forbid some other black person is going to, probably before the end of this show, some poor black person is going to be walking down the road with his hands up, minding his business, and he's going to get shot 5 times in the back by a cop, because it happens all the time. We're in America. That's what happens. Bill Witherspoon, who's next?
AJ.
AJ, you are on the phone. Where are you calling from, AJ?
Calling from D.C.
All right. What do you think?
Well, my real question is, and of course, I'm a Hillary supporter in this, so as you can imagine, I don't agree with much of that.
That's fine. I'm good with that, man. I am okay with that, AJ.
Well, my question is this: if money in politics is really, sort of the root of all of this, whether you're a Hillary supporter or, a Trump supporter or whoever, Bernie Sanders supporter, well, why is it that we don't get a whole lot of grassroots pushing for a constitutional amendment to get rid of money out of politics, for public financing or whatever we can come up with that gets rid of, the direct sort of lobbying that we see in politics?
Yeah, I understand that, what you're saying. Well, here's the thing, if you look at it right now, if you are the reality is that some politicians will talk about it. But if you look at what's going on now, most of the politicians, if you look at Congress, if you look in the White House, et cetera, what you see is the politicians that are in office because they were able to raise a lot of money for corporations. And they are many times locked into their particular seat if they're in Congress, because they can raise so much more money than anyone that could challenge them, right? So realistically, if the rules favor you and you're winning based on those rules, what are the odds that you're going to change the rules? See, that's the problem is we have a system, it's like if you got a football team that passes the ball really, really well and the rules benefit a team that passes. Are you going to really vote in favor of a rule change that makes it, everybody has to run the ball now? No.
Well, it sounds to me like what you're saying is that we don't really have an electorate that cares. Because whether or not, this politician has more money and, has been elected time and time again, if it's an issue that the electorate really cares about, then that's, what the politician is going to be forced to do or get voted out of office.
Well, and so, to cement your point, I'll say this. Are there any politicians that have to worry about getting voted out of office for not doing it?
No.
Yeah, I think that's axiomatic. I think that is a self-evident answer. Then that's a fact. And I always say this: a nation of sheep begets a government of wolves. To some extent, we do have to. I mean, I hate to say it, but we as voters in the broad sense have to take some responsibility for our government because, we're getting the government we're voting in there. Congress has a 6% approval rating. How in the world do they have a 90% reelection rate? Reelection rate. Thank you very much, AJ. I certainly appreciate you calling, man. All right. Who got next, Bill?
Ken.
Oh, my gosh, it's Ken. Ken, where are you calling from?
Hey, calling from McLean. How you doing this evening?
Fantastic. What's happening, Ken?
Outstanding. Nothing too much. Just had a question and a quick comment for you. I think the problem, J.T. Watts, the former congressman from Oklahoma, black congressman, just like I am, just like we are.
Not just like me. He's a Republican, right winger. So he ain't like me.
Yeah. Well, I guess you were born Republican or Democrat. You were born black. So
yeah, that's it.
So we stand together as black people. We're a universal race of people. We're stronger together than we are separated. And he said a long time ago, it doesn't take a lot of strength to hang on, it takes a lot of strength to let go. So, but my point becoming is that when we see the halls of Congress, because to be frank, none of these people running for office deserve my vote. None of them. I vote Bernie Sanders, but he's not available at this time. In fact, I vote Mr. Farrakhan, but he's certainly not available at this time. But the point becomes is that if we're all sitting on one side of the aisle, then we have already eliminated the possibility of having a better whole future. It's like sitting on one side of the car or sitting on everybody on one side of the boat. It's going to tip. We have got to learn to balance and occupy everything as opposed to just something. But I guess my question to you would be, if that fool Trump, the Orange Lives Matter fool, if he was not there, what if Colin Powell was in his place running? Would you vote for one of our Caucasian sisters, or would you vote for Mr. Powell?
Well, it depends. That's an obvious question. Is he running as a Republican?
I don't know what we usually run with Nikes on, but I don't know what he would be running as. I would guess he would be running as.
Then I wouldn't vote for. Then I wouldn't vote for. Let me tell you the way I see it. The Republican Party kind of lighten things up a bit. I see the Republican Party as the Confederacy, and I see traditionally, I saw the Republican Party. Let's not even say parties, okay? I see conservatism as the Confederacy, and I see progressivism, liberalism. I got some question marks and issues with liberalism, but progressive, which is the left wing. The left wing of the Democratic Party has traditionally been progressives, and the right wing of the Democratic Party has been the liberals. To me, I see conservatism, right, as the Confederacy. The very nature of conservatism is to stay with traditions, to stay with things as they have been, to argue that either things as they have always been are good or that we ought to go backwards. If you're a black person, that's really not a good idea. It don't work for you if a black person. So for me, conservatism, from the perspective of keeping things as they are or taking things back as they were before, conservatism is a bad idea for people, for minorities, for people who need group rights and group protections, such as black people. That's my perspective. I'm not saying you got to agree with it, but that's why I would never vote conservative. That's why I got a problem with Hillary Clinton, because she's far too conservative for me.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with everything you said. I think, and again, everything is about a matter of perspective. If you and I see a car accident, we might disagree on how it happened, but we certainly must agree that it did happen.
Let me say this. I just thought about something. A question you asked is important. Right now, if Colin Powell was running against Hillary Clinton, I would vote for Colin Powell over Hillary Clinton.
Amen.
Yes, I would, because Colin Powell is to the left of Hillary Clinton when it comes to a lot of things.
Absolutely. And I've worked with him actually in the South Bronx and in Harlem, where I'm from, and he's done quite a bit for inner city youth that typically, I guess my point becoming is that we just
Hillary's done a lot for inner city youth. If you consider 3 strikes and you're out.
Exactly.
The prison industrial complex.
Yeah, you're right. I was police in Camden, New Jersey, and believe me, I saw it firsthand. That all these laws that were sent down, to put people, these mandatory drug laws, were huge in the early 90s. And, it stuck for years. And, of course, under the Clinton administration, they built more prisons than any other presidency. But I guess, right now, again, we need to be attacking, especially the legislative branch. And to be honest, there's a lot of brothers and sisters not doing their job. And we need people in there that are doing their job, that represent our voice directly, not indirectly. Because I tried to go to the Black Caucus dinner, and it was like $3,000. I got 5 kids. I ain't got $3,000 for the Black Caucus dinner.
The last time I went, and I hate to admit this, I paid $750 for a ticket. Last time I went, I paid $750 for a ticket. If I'm not mistaken, I think it was like 2008, and Hillary was there. I think it was, $750. So, I ain't paying that now.
I ain't
out of my mind. Yeah, I hate to admit it.
Look, I'll meet you at Popeyes and say we can talk over there.
All right. Next time I go, Bill Witherspoon springing, because he's the man with the money around this operation. All right, who we got next, Bill?
Roland,
you are on the air live. Where are you calling from, Roland?
Silver Spring.
What's happening?
Well, I'm really glad you took my call. I share exactly what your concern about media, corporate media, and it's really a shame what's happening in our country. I think, though, that a lot of the good people who are fighting the good fight, their voices are not covered in the media, so it's all left to bought advertising. The Trump this, Trump that ads, I've seen those on television, and if I'm not mistaken, they're paid for by PACs, and they say it's not from any one particular candidate. I have seen some TV ads for Hillary, touting her long tradition of fighting and doing doing good for children's causes. And one other thought: the likelihood. I'm not as pessimistic at all about Hillary in terms of This is not 1992. This is not a Bill Clinton administration. The world has changed. We've gotten a lot louder on the left, and the economy has been hard hit for so long. I don't think Hillary is just like 1992 Redux. I don't think she's, and actually I don't think it's fair for the country, for any of us, to hold her accountable for everything that happened, in the first two Bill Clinton administrations. She was very involved in the effort to expand health care insurance. That, of course, is something Hillary worked on. But it's I think, a little sexist for any of us to accuse her of all this stuff about the three strikes and you're out. It's horrible, and I think she's
but she advocated two things. A, she did advocate for those policies. She did actively advocate for those policies, number one. But number two, doesn't Hillary often take credit for things that happened under the Clinton in the Clinton administration, which I'm fine with. But if you're going to take credit for things that happened in the Clinton administration, you can't say, I'm going to take credit because this happened under Bill Clinton, but I don't want to take the blame for anything that didn't work out. That's not reasonable either, is it?
No, that's fair. But the thing is, I think usually you hear her speak to what happened under Bill Clinton is if somebody is bashing Democratic leadership and making criticisms of the Bill Clinton administration, then she'll respond in kind and remind people about the growth economy and the budget was essentially
unfortunately, Bill Witherspoon's putting music on. That means we have to go. So thank you very much. All right. And I didn't want to, really put the guy down because he was a supporter of Hillary Clinton, and I certainly want to give people who support Hillary Clinton the opportunity to come on and make their case. Like, I don't want Trump to be president, and if somebody wants to call on and make a case for Hillary, it's only fair for me to allow that to happen too. So I appreciate him listening. I appreciate him calling. And Bill Witherspoon, thank you. Next is coming up Robin Holden with Robin's Place. My name's Garland Nixon, at Garland Nixon on Twitter, Garland Nixon on Facebook, and garlandin at gmail.com on Facebook. No, wait a minute, I'm all confused. That's my email address. I don't know what's going on. Thank you, Bill Witherspoon, and thank you, everyone, for listening. I'm out. I will be back next week.
Thanks for listening to the Just Completed Public Affairs or News program. As a listener-sponsored community radio station, WPFW